So the goal of this exercise was to use the function fread from the data table package to import data that has been stored in the subdirectory data raw. So below here, you see our project environment. There are a couple of things you can ignore, like git ignore our history, etc., etc. The important thing is that in the subfolder data raw, we have here the 3 files that you can download from the course homepage. So I've already downloaded them, extracted the zip, and stored them in the correct subdirectory. And I have also written or saved an empty R script import data1, in which we now want to write the code that we use to import the data from the first example CSV file. So first thing that you have learned from the session in project setup is that we should start our first line, our script, with the function from the here package, here I am, in which we give the relative position of our file in our whole project. In this case, that's the subdirectory R, and then the name of the file, import data1.r. This makes it easier to write code that can be used on different machines, and if we execute this command, we will get down here a message with a relative location of our working directory on our own computer, so that will definitely look differently on your computer. Then we can here write down the or attach the packages that we're about to work with in this script. This will be, on the one hand, the package here, and secondly, the package data table. And then in the next step, we now need to import the data set into R. As I said, you don't need to do that, but I recommend you, for the sake of transparency in the beginning, to first specify the relative path to the CSV file we want to import. To this extent, first think of a name here, file path 1, then call the here package and provide the relative path from our working directory of our project to the data set that we want to import. So in our case, that's first go into the subfolder data, then go into raw, and then the name of the CSV file we want to import, which in our case is fread examples -1.csv. And we can create this here. If you get this kind of error, that has to do then you haven't executed, you haven't attached the package. So if you do that, and you now look at the file path, you see here, okay, there's an absolute path created for you using the here package, and this absolute path is tailored to your personal computer. Now in the next step, we can think of a name for our data set. So in our case, it might be data set 1. And this we want to use as a name for the data set we're about to import. So we use the assignment operator, then go into the data table package, use fread, and use the argument file. And the file is the one that we have already pointed towards with our path here, file path 1. So this here is the simplest call for the fread function that you can think of, where you basically only use the default options for all the arguments of fread. If we execute it, we will now see here in the global environment the data set 1. And the data set 1 is the data set that we have imported. If we have a look at it, we see, okay, it's a very simple data set with 4 rows. You might be a little bit surprised of the kind or the way this looks like. This has to do because this data set, because we use the fread function from the package data table, this is now not a tibble or a data frame, which we have used so far. This is a data table. I would recommend you to not use data tables for now. It's actually a great format, very, very important object type, advanced object type in R, especially if you work with large data sets, but it's a little bit more difficult to handle. So here what we are going to do is we are here attaching the package Tibble such that we can use this function as Tibble that you figured to directly transform this data set here into Tibble. So now we have something that we already know how to handle. This is optional. You don't need to do it, but I would usually recommend you to transform the imported data into the object type that you feel most familiar with and the object type that belongs to the kind of R language style that you want to use. So because we are using mainly functions from the tidyverse package, the Tibble is the most natural choice for these kind of data frames. So I would recommend you to use it right in the beginning. Maybe it might also be a better idea to have these two things separated here so that we have in the first line, here we import the data set into R, here we transform it into a Tibble, and then we can have a look at that. And this is actually how you import data into R. Yeah, you first set up the script according to the rules that we've learned from the project management part. So we use the here I am. We then attach all the packages we need. We then specify the path to the file that we want to import. And then we use the function fread, because here it's a CSV file, to import the data set, transform it into the object type that we want to use. And then we can have a look at it. Probably in most cases, it's better to just look at the first couple of rows. In our case, because it's very simple and very small data set, that doesn't matter, but it's probably better to get used to it right from the start. And this is actually how you can solve the first exercise. Of course, if the raw data is getting more complex or more difficult to read in, only specifying here this necessary argument file is not enough. We need to use more of the optional argument that fread provides. And we can get a preview about that by using the help function on fread. If you look at it, you here see there are a lot of optional arguments. You can basically read in basically every CSV file. Here, however, we don't need that. And in the following, we focus on the most common of these arguments and how to use them in practice to read in CSV files that you usually encounter in your daily practice.